Welcome back, everybody. I'm Joe, and today I'm here to do a spoiler-filled review of Star Wars The Force Awakens. If you haven't seen this movie by now, leave now. I'm going to be spoiling some big plot points. Not everything, but I'm going to talk about some big details. You've been warned. Now, I had a chance to see Star Wars The Force Awakens twice now. I really enjoyed it even more the second time around, and the more I think about it, the more I like it. I was really pleased to see that it turned out to be a good movie. Is it as good as the originals? No, but I think it's pretty damn close. At the moment this movie started with the opening crawl, and by the way, it was great to hear John Williams' musical cues again. I mean, that took me back to when I was a kid watching Star Wars. The opening crawl literally goes, Luke Skywalker has vanished. And the moment I read that, I was locked right in, because it just made me go, okay, where is he? Where did he go? And the Resistance is looking for him, the First Order's looking for him, Kylo Ren is looking for him. Everybody's trying to find Luke Skywalker. And then we cut to Jakku, to Poe Dameron, who's an X-Wing pilot for the Resistance, supported by the New Republic. He's getting information from Max von Sydow's character, who is an elder on this Jakku village, which could lead to Luke Skywalker's whereabouts. In comes the First Order, causing all this havoc on this village. And then Kylo Ren shows up, kills Max von Sydow, and captures Poe Dameron, who, before he got captured, gives the information to BB-8 so he can get as far away from him as he possibly can. And right off the bat, I just went, oh, the original. But it didn't bother me too much. But then you also get introduced to the character of Finn, played by John Boyega. And when you first meet him, he's wearing a stormtrooper helmet. And once he sees all this stuff going on, his fellow soldier gets killed, they massacre the innocent civilians, that's what shakes him into turning to the good side. Because at first I just went, what causes him to switch sides from the First Order to the Resistance? And you see all this play out and I go, oh, okay. Because at first I thought, is he going to see Poe Dameron get tortured by Kylo Ren? Is that what causes him to switch sides? But I liked how they handled it in this movie, because he was raised to be trained as a soldier, to kill people, the enemy, but when he sees innocent people getting killed, that doesn't sit well with him. So I like the direction that his character goes in this movie, from a stormtrooper to good guy, and how it's handled overall. And then you cut to the Star Destroyer above Jakku, when Kylo Ren tortures Poe Dameron for information. He finds out that BB-8 has the information, so he has General Hux send a team of soldiers down to retrieve it. John Boyega's character, Finn, decides to break Poe out the Star Destroyer. And it's a great scene how they escape in this TIE fighter. At first they're stuck, they can't get out, then they start blowing the entire hangar up when the Imperials get wind of it, then they escape, and all the while this strong bond of friendship and camaraderie forms, and I just went, that's awesome. Good to meet you, Finn. Good to meet you too, Poe. It's just one of the many great examples of that classic clever writing that the original Star Wars trilogy had, and it's back in its glory. Then, of course, they get shot down over Jakku by the First Order, and it appears that Poe Dameron didn't survive the crash. Finn wanders into this village and discovers Rey, who is a scavenger who lives on her own, scavenges parts. By this point, she's actually discovered BB-8. They meet, and at first, he lies to her, saying that he's with the Resistance and not the First Order because he doesn't want to give off the wrong impression. But then the First Order shows up, and they start destroying the whole village, and they start to take off, and they escape on the Millennium Falcon, which is a great reveal as they're running towards this other ship. Wait a minute, what about that ship? That ship's garbage. Then the ship they run to blows up and she goes, the garbage will do. And turn around and you see the Millennium Falcon. Great reveal right there. And that whole sequence when the Falcon's getting chased by the TIE fighters, flying through the wreckage of the Star Destroyers, that is such an awesome scene. And especially when it goes, like, wow! Just shows you how entertaining J.J. Abrams' movies can be. Whatever you think of his other movies, you can't deny how much fun they are to watch. And then as they escape up into space, they get captured by this other space freighter, which at first they think is the First Order. And as they get ready to release some poisonous gas throughout the Falcon, the door gets broken into, and in comes Han Solo and Chewbacca. Another great reveal right there. And Harrison Ford has still got it as Han Solo. It's not like Indiana Jones 4, where he was kind of phoning it in a few parts. He feels like Han Solo. It feels like he never left that character. The camaraderie between him and Chewbacca is still there. There's some really great lines between him and Chewbacca, especially switching over the weapons with the crossbow and the pistol. Wow. This is Han Solo from the original trilogy. He's just older, more wiser, and he's now come around to the idea of the Force, because as he says to Rey and Finn, that he just thought it was a bunch of mumbo-jumbo. And it would make sense after all the stuff that happened in the originals and in the last 30 years or so. He's accepted it. It's like, yeah, it's real. There's no denying that. Now, in regards to the First Order, this is obviously the new incarnation of the Empire, with the military force being led by Kylo Ren, who is a Sith Lord to a point, and his leader, his master, Supreme Leader Snoke, is the new Emperor of the First Order, played by Andy Serkis. Kylo Ren, you find out, is Ben Solo, Han and Leia's son, and Luke Skywalker's nephew. When Supreme Leader Snoke says, your father, Han Solo, is with them.
What? What?
I literally went, Yeah, I did not see that coming at all. And it also gives his character and Han Solo's character a bit of depth, because with Han Solo, I mean, we all love Han Solo, but from the movies, you don't really know that much about him, with his family, his background, and all that stuff. Unless you read the books, you don't really know that much about him as a character, aside from his charming personality. Which also leads to probably the most powerful scene in the movie, when Han Solo dies. That's the moment that got spoiled for me. Some jerk-off posted a picture of Han Solo getting stabbed by Kylo Ren. Oh, God, it angered me so much. But it still got me. When he goes to confront him at Starkiller Base, Ben! Oh my God, Han Solo's gonna die here. Come back. You're better than this. At first, it looks like Kylo Ren just might actually do that, but then... Oh, God, it was so gut-wrenching. And my dad literally lost it. He just went... And I think my audience was going insane, but I wasn't really paying attention to the audience. I was just sucked in that whole scene. And I'm not gonna lie, I bawled. I literally cried. But I also think it made a lot of sense for Han Solo to get killed off, because it gives the movie its emotional center that it needs. And also, Harrison Ford's 73 years old. He's not going to play Han Solo for eternity. He has to end it at some point, so I think it does make sense for him to go out in this way. God, the feels in that scene, man. Woo! Not to mention Chewie's reaction to that. There are no words. But I also like how Kylo Ren is the son of Han and Leia. It shows you that sense of regret that Han and Leia feel about not properly handling the fact that their son went to the dark side, that there was too much Vader in him. Han ran away, not able to properly face his problems. And Luke, we'll get to him later, took off in a similar way. And Carrie Fisher, by the way, is really good in this movie. I was a little concerned about her going in, but she actually won me over within like 4 seconds. I just thought, nice to see you back, Carrie. You're a little crazy, but nice to see you back. Thank God, no buns, because that would have looked comical at best. It was nice to see 3PO back, it was nice to see R2-D2 back, but what I appreciated about the original characters, even though Han Solo plays an integral part in the movie, it doesn't feel forced, it doesn't feel in your face, which this movie had a danger of doing that, and I was a little concerned going in. But thankfully, J.J. Abrams held back on his love for Star Wars and properly gave most of the original characters a back seat compared to the new characters. They didn't necessarily need to come back because the new characters, Finn, Rey, Kylo Ren, and Poe, they perfectly stand fine on their own without the original actors. The roles that the original characters play in this movie, they don't feel forced, they feel natural, and they feel right. It's passing on the torch to the next generation. And I liked that. Another great thing about this movie was the character of Rey, played by Daisy Ridley. A lot of people say she steals this entire movie. I'm not going to argue with you there. She really steals the show here. When we discover her on Jakku, she is a scavenger, she's self-sufficient, she's a loner. She doesn't really want to be with anybody else, but she's waiting for something. Her family. And once she meets up with the character of Maz Kanata, along with Finn and Han and Chewie, she gets these visions of her being left by somebody leaving away on a ship. Once she discovers Luke Skywalker's lightsaber that he lost in Cloud City with his first duel against Darth Vader. And that's one of the things I wish they could have explained a little bit better. Where did Maz Kanata get that lightsaber? And also, just another thing real quick, where the hell did Kylo Ren get that Darth Vader mask? That's what I want to know, because it was all charred and burned up like... Because the last time we saw that mask, Luke Skywalker was burning it on Endor. I'm sure we're going to find out more answers as it goes on, and I cannot wait to see the answers. But anyway, back to Rey having those visions of the Knights of Ren, Luke putting his robotic hand on R2-D2. It just poses a lot of these questions, and not to mention that when we first meet her on Jakku, she has this little doll of an X-Wing pilot, an X-Wing pilot's helmet, similar to what Luke wore in the originals. Something is connecting her and Luke together. There's a theory going on that she could be Luke's daughter, or maybe his niece. I'm willing to bet that she is Luke's daughter. I don't know. Not to mention that we also find out that she's in tune with the Force, which gives Kylo Ren a little bit of a shock. Since he's not a fully trained Sith Lord at this point, he can easily read somebody's mind for information by using the Force, but when he tries to use it on her, it doesn't work. And he's a little bit taken aback by that, especially when she goes, "You're just afraid you'll never be able to live up to Darth Vader." To Kylo Ren for a second, you could clearly see that he's trying to live up to that image of Darth Vader, even though he's not fully trained. And seeing his face when he takes off that mask, a lot of people had problems with that. I thought it was really clever. It humanized him. Because with Darth Vader in A New Hope, when you first meet him, forget about all the expanded universe stuff. All you really know about him in that movie alone is that he is a key leader in the Empire. He was a pupil of Obi-Wan Kenobi, then he turned evil. And before we find out that he was Luke's dad, Obi-Wan told him he betrayed and murdered your father. Imagine people at the time hearing that and they just go, what does that mean? You don't really know that much about Darth Vader outside of what you're told in that movie. Darth Vader's a great villain. He's arguably the greatest villain of all time. But really, in that movie alone, besides the stuff that we hear from Obi-Wan, what else was interesting about him? And we don't know exactly why Kylo Ren was seduced by the dark side of the Force. I mean, we do hear that Luke tried to rebuild the Jedi Order. One of those Jedi pupils betrayed him and went to the dark side. Similar to Anakin Skywalker being seduced by the dark side and destroying most of the Jedi Order. And since Luke is the uncle of Ben Solo, it makes sense that he went into hiding. How could he look his sister and his brother-in-law in the face, knowing that he failed their son and him? I thought that made a really interesting family dynamic right there. And Jeremy Johns has pointed this out before in his spoiler video. Anakin Skywalker didn't have a dad. His mom died as he was rescuing her in Attack of the Clones. I mean, you had the master-student dynamic with Obi-Wan, but this, I thought, made him a little bit more powerful because you had Han Solo and Leia and Luke. That whole dynamic right there, I found very compelling. Now, as far as why he turns to the dark side, we don't know at this point, but I'm sure we're going to find out in the other two, in episode 8 or 9. We'll find out the answers then. But back to Rey using the Force leads to another great scene. You will remove these restraints and leave the cell with the door open. Takes like 3 tries, but it finally works on the 3rd try and you just go, whoa! That's cool. And just a little trivia, that stormtrooper is Daniel Craig, James Bond. I mean, my mind was blown the moment I read that online after I saw the movie. So when I went back a second time to watch the movie, I listened to that voice and I just went, that is Daniel Craig. I don't know if it was him voicing the stormtrooper or wearing the stormtrooper helmet, but that was so awesome. And of course, probably the funniest moment. And you'll drop your weapon. And I'll drop my weapon. Now, I've seen a lot of complaints saying that how could she know how to use the Force so easily with a lightsaber? Because in the final confrontation with Kylo Ren, after he kills Han Solo, Finn confronts him with a lightsaber. Now, Finn, we find out, is not exactly Force sensitive. Because at first, I thought he was going to be the main Jedi, kind of like Luke Skywalker. But then we find out that it's actually Rey. Because we see Finn on that planet fighting that stormtrooper with a stun baton. He doesn't have Force abilities, clearly. And the way he handles himself in that fight against Kylo Ren, he puts up a little bit of a good fight, but he clearly gets his ass handed to him by Kylo Ren. And when Kylo Ren goes for that lightsaber, he tries to use the Force to grab it, doesn't work for a second, and then it flies right by his head and lands in Rey's hand. Now, I thought for a second that it was going to be Luke who catches that lightsaber. So I thought, oh my god, is Luke coming? Is Luke coming? Oh my god. But it was Rey that caught it, and I just went, that is amazing. I love that. And of course, she fights him off with the lightsaber. Now, a lot of people have problems with her using that lightsaber. She's too good at it. How could she know how to use that? Well, my theory goes, I'm just spitballing here. Just let me go on this theory for a second. If she is Luke's daughter or niece, whatever she is, just maybe she was trained by Luke Skywalker to be a Jedi Knight. Let's say when Ben Solo fell to the dark side and destroyed any trace of the Jedi Order and possibly threatened to turn Rey to the dark side, let's say, for theory's sake, that Luke decided to use a Force wipe to wipe her memory, plant all these false memories of her being abandoned on Jakku as a child, in order to protect her from the truth that her relative turned to the dark side and she could have fallen into the dark side. If that is the case at all, I don't know. We're gonna find out in the next movie probably, that he probably wiped her memories in order to protect her from what really happened. She probably knew to use the Force a little bit, which is probably why when Kylo Ren goes, "You need a teacher, I'll show you the ways of the Force." The Force. And she clearly knocks him right on his ass. Gives him a big scar, cuts him up, and not only was he bleeding from that wound when he got shot by Chewbacca in the core of Starkiller Base, but he was really scarred up so badly. And then at first I thought he was gonna die and be left for dead. But when General Hux goes to talk to Supreme Leader Snoke through that hologram, he said, "Evacuate your men and bring Kylo Ren to me. It's time to complete his training." That's where I went, okay. He survived. I mean, we don't see exactly how they got off the planet, but I'm sure, for time purposes, J.J. Abrams was like, look, it doesn't matter how they got out. They got out. We're not going to even bother showing how they escaped. That's just little details. And then, of course, all the while this is going on, Poe Dameron and his squadron of X-Wing fighters are trying to destroy Starkiller Base. Now, a lot of people have problems with Starkiller Base, and as far as the other aspects of the movie that I've mentioned, BB-8 has the information. You go to a cantina scene, you're on a desert planet. A lot of people are saying that J.J. Abrams basically remade A New Hope. I disagree. I don't think this is a remake. Are there similarities to it? Of course there is. You go to a cantina scene, you see all these creatures, these practical effects, you meet Rey on this desert planet, and essentially you have a doomsday device, another Death Star, which I'm glad that they address that it is another Death Star. A lot of people have problems with that. Starkiller Base said, it's just another Death Star, they're remaking A New Hope. Well, here's the thing. If this really was a remake, then the main focus of the final act would have been destroying Starkiller Base. Just like in A New Hope, the main focus of that final act was trying to destroy the Death Star. In this case, this is in the background compared to what's going on in the final act. The main focus of the final act is Kylo Ren, Finn, and Rey facing off against each other. And yes, it does have an older gentleman getting killed by a dark Jedi, but Han is nothing like Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's not a wise old Jedi. He doesn't teach Rey anything. Rey doesn't really need that much teaching. She will, as far as using the Force, from Luke Skywalker. He acknowledges that the Force is real, but he doesn't know the ways of the Force. If all that stuff was there, like him being a wise old man or Jedi, then I would have gone, okay, that's straight up copying right there. So I'm glad that J.J. Abrams and Lawrence Kasdan and the rest of his team twisted it in all these different ways where you could just go, okay, this is similar, but it's new and fresh at the same time. Rey is a scavenger who doesn't exactly have a family. She doesn't live with an aunt or an uncle. Poe Dameron is like Han Solo, but he's a little bit more wholesome compared to Han Solo and Lando Calrissian. And by the way, with Starkiller Base, a really cool scene that I thought was pretty neat was when General Hux is giving this really passionate speech about destroying the New Republic, talking to all these soldiers and officers out in this audience. And it's clearly a reference and a commentary to the Nazi rallies in World War II with the flags, the auditorium, and all that stuff, giving this really fiery speech. I don't know. It was nice to see that J.J. Abrams was carrying on those ideas. But anyway, Starkiller Base is destroyed, the First Order's evacuated. Finn survives. I thought for a second that he died, but we last see him in the medical bay. And R2-D2 somehow wakes up and says, oh, I can help. Wait a minute. Why didn't you help out earlier? But then you think about it, if Rey is Luke's daughter, because when we first see R2-D2, Rey is nowhere to be seen on that planet. She arrives, he wakes up, so maybe the genetics of Luke Skywalker woke him up? Who knows? We'll probably find that out in the next movie. And then they find out the location of Luke Skywalker. Rey takes off in the Millennium Falcon with Chewie and R2-D2. She arrives on this island, and then she meets Luke Skywalker. And it kind of shocked me at first because he's only in the movie for like 30 seconds. But when you see him just looking out on the ocean, you see him from behind. The moment I saw him, I just went, because Luke Skywalker is one of my favorite fictional characters of all time, and it was nice to see him back again. And at first I was a little disappointed because I wanted more of Luke Skywalker, but thinking about it a little bit more, I just went, no, I think it makes sense. They're setting him up to have a more substantial part in the next movie. When he took off his hood, had all this long hair and everything, I just thought, he looks like a holy man. And the final image, of course, consists of him and Rey looking at each other as she offers him the lightsaber. And the movie ended right there. And right when it ended, I just went, wait a minute. No! I want episode 8 right now! Come on! And by the way, the fact that Luke is a wise old Jedi and is not some evil villain like some rumors were persisting that he was, thank God he's not evil. Thank God. Because that would have killed me. Unless they found a good explanation as to why he turned evil, it wouldn't have made any sense whatsoever. Because I have to admit, the theory of him being Kylo Ren, right when Kylo Ren's about to unmask himself in front of Rey, the theory had crept back into my head, and when he was about to take off that mask, I just went, oh God, please don't let it be Luke, please don't let it be Luke, please don't let it be Luke. And it turns out it was Adam Driver, and I just went, oh, thank God. And not to get on a long tangent here, for people who wanted Luke to be evil, I think what a lot of you don't understand is that the whole point of his character arc in the original trilogy was that he was supposed to succeed what his father failed to do, become a Jedi and not be seduced by the dark side of the Force. That was the whole point of his character arc, in particular in Return of the Jedi. And I really went on a lot about how much I really love this movie, but that being said, there are a couple of things that I think I would have done a little differently. Like I said, I wish they would have explained a little bit more as to where Maz Kanata got that lightsaber, Luke's lightsaber, since we last saw it in Cloud City with his duel against Darth Vader. But since they didn't really answer as to why she had that lightsaber, it doesn't really bother me that much. And I didn't really care for the look of Snoke either. I thought he really looked too generic looking. I think that with another touch of CGI, I think they could have made him look a little bit better. And I have to admit, when we first see him, I just thought, is he big? Oh, come on. I don't want anybody to fight somebody that big. But then you see the blue flicker of light, and then it disappears, finding out that it's a hologram, and I just went, oh, thank God. It's a hologram. Never mind. And I would have liked a little bit more of Poe Dameron. When this TIE fighter crashes into the desert, and you don't really see where Poe went after that, and you don't really meet up with him until you're at the Resistance base on Dakar, or whatever that planet is. He said, I was ejected from the crash, or something or other. I don't know, it just felt a little bit too convenient for me. I think they could have explained it a little bit better. Maybe he could have tagged along, but I recognize that there was a lot of other characters to focus on, so it probably would have been a little too crowded. I just wanted a little more of Oscar Isaac as Poe Dameron, but what we got of him was really well done, and I think he's going to be more prominent in the next two movies coming up. And I thought the movie was moving sometimes a little too quick. I mean, the first viewing really flew by. The second viewing moved a little bit slower, but at the same time, sometimes it runs a little too fast-paced. I would have liked it to slow down just a little bit more, but at the same time, it doesn't really bother me. And as far as Starkiller Base is concerned, a lot of people have problems with Starkiller Base. Like I said, it's familiar, yeah. Could we have done without it? Sure. But you know what? I honestly don't really care that much because, like I said, it's in the background compared to what else is going on with Kylo Ren, Finn, and Rey. And I have to say, if you're not a really big fan of this movie, whether or not you're a big Star Wars fan, it's perfectly fine by me. You don't have to like this movie. You don't have to like every single movie on this planet. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, to people who are disliking Episode 7, and Chris Stuckman pointed this out in his video, people who are hating Episode 7 go, I love the originals. Prequels come out. I wish it was more like the originals. Episode 7 comes out. It's too much like Star Wars. It has to be more original and fresh. You freaking hypocrites. We saw that in the prequels, and you guys complained about that too. But I have to stress again, if you don't like this movie, it's perfectly fine. You don't have to like every movie. If you like it but don't love it, that's absolutely fine too. You don't have to love it. But in all honesty, I really love The Force Awakens. It's not a flawless movie by any means, and I wasn't expecting it to be either. I wasn't expecting it to be on the same level as the original trilogy. All I was really hoping for is that it was a good movie in its own right, and you know what? I think it was. And I can't wait to watch it again, and again, and again, and I can't wait for next May the 4th so I could throw in some quotes along with the original movies as well, because there's some really great lines in here too. And we only have a year and a half to wait for Episode 8 to come in. In between that and Episode 9, we got 2 years to wait. Not 3, thankfully, like we did with the original trilogy back in the 80s and late 70s. And we only got a year to wait for Rogue One to come out, and I'm really curious to see where that goes too. So thank you, J.J. Abrams. Thank you so much for making this movie. Well done. And I can't wait to see what Rian Johnson and Colin Trevorrow bring to this trilogy. This is exactly what Star Wars needed after 32 years. It needed that new sense of energy, bringing back that classic feel of Star Wars while at the same time going in its own new direction with new characters going through their own arcs and, bringing in some familiar aspects of the originals, but also spinning them in their own ways. Yeah. I really love The Force Awakens, and I can't wait to watch it again. But what did you guys think of The Force Awakens? Did you love it, like it, hate it, think it was okay? Whatever you thought, comment below and tell me what you thought of it. Hope you guys have a great Christmas this year, and may the Force be with you.